The galaxy's fear. The galaxy was old, and its rulers were even older. The great alien empires believed they had seen everything, fought everything, and conquered everything. They looked at humans as nothing more than a young race, weak and harmless. To them, humanity was good for trade, for cheap labor, and sometimes for amusement, but never for fear. In the High Council of the Galactic Core, 1,000 alien voices debated the balance of power. The Dravok spoke with thunder in their voices. The Serati hissed with cold laughter. And the Varuan sang in tones that could shatter glass. Every species feared one another's fleets, for each empire had weapons carved from black holes, suns, and antimatter. But when it came to humans, the Council only scoffed. Terrans? One alien sneered. They barely protect their home system. They are no threat, and yet rumors had begun to spread. Whispers carried through trading posts, taverns, and secret transmissions. Some spoke of lost human warships, ships so old that even the Galactic Core did not have records of them. Impossible, said the Serati warlord, his scales glittering in torchlight. If such ships existed, the Terrans would not be so quiet. But there were always doubts. An elder of the Varuan spoke slowly. Silence is not weakness. Silence is patience. No one wanted to believe him, for the idea of humanity holding power frightened them more than any weapon. On Earth, humanity lived as if the galaxy's opinion did not matter. They traded, they mined, they built colonies at the edges of safe space. The aliens laughed at their tiny defense fleets, small destroyers and frigates, nothing compared to the battleships of the core. Even children of alien nobles mocked human vessels as floating scrap. But behind the jokes was unease, because no one could explain the ancient ruins buried under the moon. No one could explain the scars of massive shipyards at the bottom of Earth's oceans. And no one could explain why humans kept so quiet about their oldest history. The truth was buried. Deeper than even most humans knew. Hidden archives sealed by forgotten codes. Vaults locked under ice, under sand, and under stone. Legends that spoke of the First Fleet. Ships that had fought wars before the Galactic Core was even born. Some humans believed these were only myths, stories told to children about heroes who sailed the stars, but others knew better. In the shadows of the outer colonies, a signal was discovered. It was faint, broken, but old, impossibly old. The scientists who found it stared at one another in silence. This can't be right. One whispered, his voice shaking. The signal was human, and yet its origin was from a time far beyond their recorded history. A time when humans should not even have been in space. When word of the signal leaked, alien spies rushed to investigate. Some dismissed it as a fake, a desperate attempt by humans to gain respect, but others were not so sure. The energy pattern was unlike anything the galaxy had seen in thousands of years. The core leaders met in secret chambers, their fear hidden behind their masks of pride. Could it be true? One asked, have the Terrans been hiding their strength all this time? Meanwhile on Earth, deep under the lunar surface, something stirred. For centuries it had slept, untouched and forgotten. A great vault, older than human memory, hummed. With a low vibration, inside, colossal shapes rested in the dark. Their hulls covered in dust but unbroken. The machines that guarded them flickered to life, systems checking themselves after endless silence. A warning ran through the ancient code. Signal received, prepare to awaken. But the galaxy did not. Yet know this, the galaxy only felt unease, as though the stars themselves held their breath. Trade convoys reported strange readings near Sol. Strange surges of power. Explorers who dared to fly too close vanished, their last transmissions filled with static and fear. And still, humanity said nothing. No warnings, no threats, only silence. It was the silence of a predator waiting for the right moment. The council argued and mocked each other, but in their hearts they were afraid, because fear always begins in the unknown. And the unknown was rising from humanity's shadow. Somewhere deep inside the moon, eyes that had been closed for ages were opening. Engines that once shook galaxies were waking again, and the galaxy would soon learn that the weakest race they mocked had been the most dangerous all along. The fear had only just begun. The galaxy was laughing. After whispers of the strange signal spread, most alien empires dismissed it as human trickery. Terrans invent stories when they are afraid, said the Serati warlord, his tongue flicking with cruel amusement. They cannot even protect their colonies, and they dare speak of ancient ships. In the grand hall of the Corps, the laughter continued. A Dravik general raised a claw and projected images of human ships. Small, fragile vessels floated on the display. Frigates, corvettes, patrol ships. Look at them, he thundered. Barely more than transports with weapons. A single battleship of mine could destroy their entire fleet. The chamber roared with laughter, echoing off the shining walls. The galaxy mocked humanity openly. Merchants told jokes in spaceports. Comedians on alien worlds painted humans as weaklings hiding behind fragile shields. Children of the core nobles used those shaped like Terran ships and smashed them with rocks. Everywhere the message was the same. Humans were harmless. Humans were prey, and yet there were always the uneasy whispers. Whispers of humans digging on the far side of the moon. Whispers of vaults under the ice in Antarctica. Whispers of giant shadows hidden in the oceans of Earth. But these were laughed away. Myths, nothing more. The empires declared, if there was danger, they would have seen it. They believed, if there was power, humans would have used it already. Still, not all were convinced. In a secret chamber, the Varuan elder sat in silence as others mocked. His voice was like stone breaking when he finally spoke. Silence is not weakness, it is patience. The chamber quieted for a moment, but then the laughter returned. The old Varuan shook his head, for he remembered wars before the Corps even existed. And he knew that sometimes silence was the loudest warning of all. But the mocking did not stop. An emperor of the Corps sent a demand to Earth. His message broadcast across half the galaxy. Terrans, he declared, your colonies exist only because we permit them. Your fleets are a joke. Your armies are insects. Surrender your worlds, or be crushed. His words were met with applause from alien audiences. They laughed at the idea of humans resisting. On Earth, however, the leaders did not answer. They did not roar in defiance. They did not send threats. They only stayed silent. The silence confused some aliens who expected rage or begging. But humanity gave neither. They waited, calm, as though they held a secret too heavy to reveal before its time. Alien spies reported back to their masters with urgency. They described humans moving large shipments to the moon. They described strange lights under the oceans of Earth. They described digging machines drilling deep into deserts. But their reports were ignored. The leaders of the galaxy only laughed. What could they be doing? One scoffed, hiding more scrap metal under the ground. And then the rumors grew darker. One spy swore he saw the outline of something vast inside a lunar cavern. He described it as a mountain made of steel, silent but alive. His transmission ended with static before he could say more. The council dismissed his words as lies, but unease spread like fire under the laughter. For every joke told, there was someone in the shadows who whispered, what if it is true? What if humans are not as weak as they seem? The galaxy remembered that humans had always been strange. They adapted too fast. They survived too much. They rebuilt too easily. Every time they were beaten, they rose again stronger, and yet, still the leaders mocked. It was easier to laugh than to fear. It was easier to pretend than to prepare. But in the dark of space, near Sol, the mocking began to die. Scouts who flew too close reported strange energy bursts, then vanished. Navigation systems malfunctioned near Earth. Sensors were blinded. Ships that tried to spy were never heard from again. The galaxy mocked, yes, but it was nervous laughter now. Laughter mixed with fear, like prey making noise in the dark to keep predators away. And humanity said nothing. No threats, no boasts, only silence, as if they were waiting for something. To rise, something older than any empire, something the galaxy had forgotten. But humanity had never truly lost. The mockery would not last much longer, for deep beneath the moon, giant shapes stirred, and soon, the galaxy would laugh no more. The moon was silent. Its dark side had hidden secrets for ages, secrets that no alien telescope could fully see. But on this night, the silence broke. A vault buried deep under ancient stone stirred. Its walls vibrated, dust fell, and forgotten. Machines awakened. Inside the vault lay a ship, massive beyond belief. Its hull stretched like a mountain of steel, its edges sharp like the blade of a sword. It was old, older than human memory, yet it pulsed with energy as if it had never died. Symbols etched along its surface glowed faint blue. Words written in a language that even modern humans could not read. The ship's name shimmered to life: Leviathan. Engineers and soldiers stood at a distance, watching in awe. Some trembled, some cried, others whispered prayers for generations. They had guarded this place without knowing what they were guarding. And now the secret was revealed before their eyes. The first of the ancient human warships had awakened. The control panels inside lit up one by one. Screens flickered with data so advanced it looked like magic. An AI voice, silent for thousands of years, finally spoke. Systems check complete. Hull integrity 98%. Weapons offline. Awaiting orders. The humans looked at each other, stunned by the calm power of the machine. In the darkness of space, far beyond Earth, alien scanners twitched. A sudden spike of energy burst from the moon, strong enough to rattle nearby systems. Alien fleets monitoring Sol detected it instantly. "What is this?" shouted a Serati commander, his scales rising in alarm. "No human technology produces this kind of surge." Panic whispered through the galaxies. Messages flew across empires, faster than light. "Something has awakened in Sol," the reports said. Something old, something human. At first, leaders mocked again, but their laughter was thinner now. They demanded proof, and proof came quickly. A single image escaped from a spy probe before it was destroyed. It showed the silhouette of the Leviathan as it rose from the cavern. Even blurred, even half-seen, the ship dwarfed anything known. It looked less like a vessel and more like a fortress, and it was human, undeniably human. The galaxy's laughter died. Silence spread like frost, and in that silence was fear, back on Earth. The warship's engines roared for the first time in ages. The ground shook, the air trembled, even the ocean seemed to respond. Children on Earth stared at the night sky, not knowing why the moon now glowed faintly. Elders whispered to each other. The legends were true. Legends that said humanity once walked with giants and ruled the stars before the empires of aliens even existed. The council met in haste. Voices clashed. Accusations filled the air. "Lies, this must be a trick," one shouted. "No, the energy readings are real. The ship is real," another admitted. The Varuan elder simply sat in silence, his face pale. At last he spoke, his voice breaking the chamber like thunder. "I warned you." "Silence is patience." The Dravat general slammed a claw on the table. "They have one ship. One ship does not make a fleet." But the fear in his eyes betrayed his words, for he, like the others, knew that one ship of such size and power could destroy hundreds of lesser ones. Meanwhile, the Leviathan began its first test. Weapons long silent powered on. Beams of pure energy cut through empty space, leaving scars on the void itself. Gravity cannons shifted the orbit of rocks like toys. Plasma shields shimmered, brighter and stronger than anything the galaxy had ever built. The humans watched in silence, humbled and afraid of their own creation. Then came the first order. "Move," said the human commander, his voice steady. The ship obeyed, lifting from its cradle of stone, rising above the moon's surface. Alien satellites nearby captured the image, a titan of steel ascending like a god. The picture spread across the galaxy before the satellites were reduced to ash by the ship's defenses. For the first time in thousands of years, the Leviathan, sailed again. Its engines glowed brighter than stars. Its shadow stretched across Earth itself. The humans on the ground looked up and felt both pride and fear. They had awakened something that belonged to their ancestors, something greater than themselves, but the galaxy felt only terror. What if this was only one ship? How many more slept under the oceans, deserts, and ice of Earth? How many more were buried across colonies, waiting for the same signal? The unknown was worse than any weapon. The Leviathan's awakening was not just a test. It was a warning. It declared to the galaxy that humanity was no longer weak. It declared that the silence was over, and it whispered a terrible truth into every alien heart. One ship had awakened, and the galaxy already trembled. The galaxy could not stay silent anymore. The awakening of the Leviathan had shaken every empire. But instead of respect, the first reaction was fear and anger. And from fear came the decision to strike. The Serati Empire was the first to move. They gathered a fleet of 100 warships, sleek and deadly. Each ship bristled with cannons, torpedoes, and shields powered by stars. Their commanders laughed as they planned the attack. They found one relic ship. A Serati captain sneered, "We will crush it before they find more." The fleet entered Sol quietly, slipping past outposts and colonies on Earth. Alarms blared. Humans scrambled to prepare. The Leviathan was still new to them, its systems still testing, but it was their only hope, their only shield. If the warship failed, Earth would burn in the command center. Human leaders stood in silence. Generals spoke quickly. Scientists argued over power limits, but all eyes turned to the captain of the Leviathan, a man who had trained his whole life for this day without ever knowing it would come. He looked at his crew and said simply, "We fight." The Leviathan rose from the moon like a titan. Its massive hull cast a shadow across the stars. The Serati fleet roared forward, their ships shining with the light of weapons ready to fire, hundreds against one. The galaxy thought the outcome certain. The first volley came. Beams of plasma cut through space. Torpedoes screamed. Cannons fired in endless streams. Explosions lit the void, painting the battle black and red. For a moment, the Leviathan disappeared in fire. The galaxy, watching through hidden probes, believed the humans had lost. But then the fire cleared, and the Leviathan remained untouched. Its shields glowed with a silver-blue light, ancient technology beyond anything the Serati had ever seen. The warship's hull seemed to laugh at the weapons that had destroyed countless alien fleets. Then the Leviathan answered, its main cannon charged with a deep, thunderous hum. Energy gathered at its core, brighter and brighter until it outshone the Serati ships, and then it fired. A beam of light so pure and so sharp cut through space. One Serati battleship vanished in an instant, turned to dust. Another split apart, its pieces glowing as they spun away. The fleet panicked, their perfect formation shattering. "No shield can block it," one captain screamed, before his voice was lost in static. The Leviathan moved forward with terrifying grace. For a ship so large, it moved like a predator, fast and precise. Its gravity cannons pulled smaller ships into its path, crushing them like insects. Its torpedoes, glowing like miniature suns, burned through cruisers with a single strike. Every weapon it fired was something the galaxy had never seen before. Still, the Serati fought with desperation. They poured fire into the Leviathan, hoping to find a weakness. But each blast only revealed more of the ship's secrets. Adaptive shields shifted colors, armor absorbed energy and turned it back. The Serati realized too late that they were not fighting a relic. They were fighting a god of war on Earth. Billions watched the battle through transmissions. Fear turned into awe. Awe turned into pride. For the first time, humanity saw that. The galaxy's laughter meant nothing. They were not weak. They were not prey. They were the heirs of legends, and those legends had returned. The battle lasted hours, but the end was never in doubt. One by one, the Serati ships exploded, their wreckage scattering like ashes across Sol. Some tried to flee, but the Leviathan's weapons reached them even in retreat. In the end, out of 100 ships, only 3 survived. They fled into the dark, carrying with them the tale of terror. The galaxy heard their cries. "The Terrans have awakened a monster," they shouted. "One ship destroyed us all." And the galaxy listened, and for the first time, the galaxy trembled inside the Leviathan. The crew sat in silence after the last enemy ship fell. The captain looked at the stars, his face calm but heavy. "This was only a test," he whispered. "If one ship could destroy a fleet, what would happen when more awoke?" Far below, in the oceans, deserts, and ice of Earth, other vaults stirred. Engines hummed faintly, codes unlocked, lights flickered to life. The Leviathan was not alone. It was only the beginning. The galaxy had sent its first challenge. Humanity had answered, and now the galaxy would never laugh again. The galaxy did not sleep after the battle. News of the Serati defeat spread faster than light. 100 ships destroyed by a single human warship. The story was repeated in markets, on star stations, and inside the great halls of emperors. The galaxy laughed no more, but fear grew. If one ship could do this, what about 2, 3, or 10? Whispers spread across every empire. What if the humans are awakening a fleet? The question was more dangerous than any weapon. Alien leaders tried to calm their people. They declared the Serati were fools, that the Terran ship was only luck, but spies brought new reports. And those reports carried dread. On Earth, vaults were opening. Oceans boiled as giant doors rose. From the deep, deserts cracked as steel arms lifted from under the sand. Ice fields split apart to reveal glowing hangars. Everywhere, machines that had been silent for ages began to stir. And each vault carried one of the ancient warships, each ship bigger, darker, stronger than the fleets of the galaxy, each one humming with forgotten technology. The Leviathan had been the first, but it was not the last, not even close. Human civilians whispered old legends in the streets, legends their grandparents told, stories of a time when humans ruled the stars. They spoke of ancestors who had not lost wars, but had hidden their weapons. Why? One child asked. Why would they hide them? An elder answered softly. Because they were waiting for the day they would be needed again. The galaxy could not understand. Empires fought to show their power. They built fleets to rule, to dominate. But humans had hidden their greatest strength in silence. They had chosen patience over pride. And that patience now terrified the galaxy. Alien scouts who flew near Sol vanished. Some sent broken transmissions before they disappeared. Whispers of titans rising from oceans, of glowing eyes under the ice, of cities made not for humans, but for ships. And then the signals went dead. The galaxy realized it was blind. They could not see what was happening on Earth, and what they could not see, they feared. The council met again in chaos. Voices shouted. Claws slammed, scales rattled. They will rise against us. One cried, "We must strike now." "No," said another. "If they have more ships, attacking will only awaken more." Silence fell for a moment. And then the Veruan elder spoke. The Terrans were never weak. They were never prey. They were waiting. His words chilled every being in the chamber. Meanwhile, on Earth, the awakening continued. Humans watched as ancient machines poured out of vaults, repairing themselves with swarms of drones. Engines lit up, bright as suns. Weapons came online with hums that shook the ground. Each ship carried the weight of history. Each one was a reminder that humanity's past was far older, far darker than anyone had believed. The Leviathan no longer sailed alone. Beside it rose the Goliath, the Erebus, the Valkyrie, names carved in metal, names once feared in forgotten wars. Together, they formed a fleet unlike anything the galaxy had seen in thousands of years. Aliens across the stars began to whisper a new name. They called it the Sleeping Fleet, a fleet that had rested while empires rose and fell, a fleet that now returned to the stars with vengeance in its bones. In the great capitals of the galaxy, citizens lived in fear. Markets were quiet. Taverns closed early. Merchants raised prices for weapons. Rulers sent out secret scouts. Everyone feared the same truth. If the humans unleashed the sleeping fleet, no empire would be safe. Some empires began building coalitions, they whispered, of combining their fleets, of standing united against the Terrans, but none trusted each other fully. Old rivalries burned too deep, and so, while they argued, humanity only grew stronger. In hidden chambers, human commanders gathered. Maps of the stars glowed before them, showing every empire, every fleet, every stronghold. One general whispered, "They thought we were weak," another answered, "Let them think so a little longer." But the captain of the Leviathan only said, "The galaxy fears us now, and fear is the sharpest weapon." The dread was rising. The galaxy no longer mocked, no longer laughed. They looked at Sol and saw only shadows, shadows of ships older than their histories, shadows of weapons they could not understand, shadows of a power that had slept too long, and soon, those shadows would move. Soon, the galaxy would learn that. Dread was only the beginning. The galaxy could no longer pretend. The Sarati defeat was not an accident, and the awakening of more Terran ships was not a rumor. Every empire felt the weight of dread pressing against their stars, and so, for the first time in centuries, the rulers of the galaxy gathered. The War Council was summoned. It was held on a station so large it circled a dying sun. Hundreds of species arrived, each bringing their most powerful leaders, generals and fleets. The chamber was filled with voices, claws, wings, and scales. The air trembled with fear. The Dravak general slammed his claw against the table, his voice like thunder. "We cannot sit and watch," he roared. "The humans are awakening a fleet. If we delay, it will be too late." The Sarati envoy hissed, his pride wounded but his fear sharper. "One ship destroyed 100 of ours. If they have 10 ships, they will destroy us all." The chamber filled with angry voices, each empire shouting, demanding, blaming. Only the Varuan elder stayed calm. He looked around with his ancient eyes and spoke softly. "You laughed at the Terrans, you mocked their silence, and now you tremble." No one answered him, for the truth in his words cut too deep. Plans were made in desperation. The coalition would form the largest fleet in history, thousands of ships from every empire, titans built from star cores, dreadnoughts wrapped in black hole shields, cruisers that carried weapons capable of melting planets. All would march toward Sol. All would march against the humans. But even as they planned, doubt whispered in every corner. What if the Terrans had more than 10 ships? What if their fleet was larger than anyone imagined? What if the galaxy was already too late? On Earth, humanity also prepared. The Leviathan no longer stood alone. The Goliath, the Erebus, the Valkyrie, and others had risen from their vaults. Each warship restored by swarms of machines that had waited for this day. Above Earth, the stars filled with steel. The ancient Terran fleet was being reborn. Inside the human command chamber, maps of the galaxy glowed. Red markers showed the coalition fleets gathering. Blue lights showed the awakened Terran ships. The human commanders watched in silence. Some were afraid, some were eager, but all understood the truth. The war was coming. A young officer asked, "Can we win against thousands?" The captain of the Leviathan answered without hesitation, "We do not need to win against thousands. We only need to remind them." "Remind them of what?" Another whispered. The captain's eyes hardened. "That we were here before them, and we will be here after them." As the coalition gathered its fleets, alien spies risked their lives to bring news. They spoke of Terran warships aligning information, of giant shipyards awakening under the oceans, building more vessels with impossible speed, of a word spoken again and again by humans, the Dreadnought Line. When the spies returned with this name, the chamber of the War Council grew silent. The Sarati envoy asked, his voice shaking, "What is the Dreadnought Line?" The Varuan elder answered in a whisper, "A gift from their ancestors, ships built not to fight wars, but to end them." No one laughed, no one mocked. The chamber felt colder than space itself. Outside, the galaxy held its breath. Merchants stopped their routes near Sol. Explorers changed their paths. Ordinary people across the stars whispered prayers in fear. They spoke of the humans as if they were not mortals, but something older, something destined, and still, the Terrans said nothing. No threats, no boasts, only silence. In that silence, fleets moved. On one side, the greatest coalition ever formed, thousands of ships from dozens of empires. On the other side, humanity's reborn fleet, rising like legends from the dark. The balance of power that had stood for centuries was breaking. The galaxy understood that the next battle would not just decide Sol, it would decide the future of every world, every race, every empire. The Varuan elder spoke once more before the council ended. The galaxy has armies, he said slowly, but the humans, they have legends, and his words followed every leader back to their ships. Like a shadow they could not escape. The stage was set, the coalition was ready, the humans were waiting, and soon, the galaxy would learn the truth of the Dreadnought line. The revelation the galaxy gathered at Sol, the largest fleet in history had arrived. A storm of ships blotting out the stars, thousands of vessels from every empire, united not by loyalty, but by fear. Their weapons glowed, their engines burned, and their commanders swore they would erase humanity before it could rise. Across the system, humanity stood ready. The Leviathan, the Goliath, the Erebus, the Valkyrie, and dozens more warships took their positions, each one massive, ancient, and alive with power. Their hulls glowed faintly with the marks of their creators. Symbols from an age before the galaxy had written history. They were not just ships, they were legends returned to life. For a long moment, there was silence. The two greatest forces the galaxy had ever seen faced one another across the void. Tension spread through every ship, through every crew, through every beating heart. No one fired, no one moved. It was the silence before the storm. Then a voice filled the darkness. It came from the humans, broadcast to every corner of the battlefield. We did not rise to conquer. The voice said, calm and steady, we rose to remind you. The words echoed in alien ears, twisting with unease, and then the revelation came. The Terran warships shifted formation, their shadows merging. Behind them, something greater appeared. Vast structures rose from behind Earth, from the moon, from hidden stations buried in the deep. They were not ships, they were starforges. The galaxy gasped in horror. Starforges, machines capable of building fleets faster than entire empires could in centuries. The Terrans had hidden them, preserved them, kept them sleeping until this day. Now they woke, blazing with fire, launching swarms of drones and new vessels into space. The galaxy's greatest fleet faced not just ships, but the promise of endless ships. The coalition panicked. Voices cried out across comms. Orders shouted, threats screamed. Some called for retreat, others demanded an immediate attack. But it was already too late. The Leviathan fired first. Its cannon tore through space, erasing an alien dreadnought in a single flash. The coalition returned fire, a storm of energy crashing into the Terran fleet. But the dreadnought line held. Their shields shimmered like silver oceans, bending the galaxy's fury and sending it back. The Goliath unleashed gravity weapons that dragged ships into one another. The Valkyrie cut through the dark with swarms of smaller drones, each one a weapon of precision. The Erebus cloaked itself and reappeared behind enemy lines, tearing apart cruisers with blades of light. Every Terran warship moved with purpose, as though they had fought this battle before, as though history itself was repeating. Across the battlefield, alien ships exploded, one by one. Their proud fleets broke, their formations shattered. The coalition realized the truth too late. They were not fighting humans who had just risen. They were fighting an ancient power that had never truly fallen. Still, the humans did not press for conquest. They did not chase the fleeing ships. They only stood their ground, unshaken. The human voice returned once more, echoing across the dying battlefield. "We are not here to rule you," the captain declared. "We are here to remind you. This galaxy was never yours alone." The words carried farther than any weapon. They burned into the hearts of rulers and soldiers alike. They broke pride. They shattered arrogance. For the galaxy understood, humanity had not been weak. They had been waiting for the day when silence would end. And now that day had come. The coalition fleet limped away, broken and humiliated. The great empires that had once mocked humans now feared to even speak their name on distant worlds. Alien children whispered stories of Terran dreadnoughts as if they were gods. Merchants told tales of the sleeping fleet, of ships that ended wars with a single strike. And in every corner of the galaxy, the balance of power had shifted on Earth. The people stood united beneath the stars. They looked up at the massive warships hanging above their skies. They were not afraid, they were proud, for they knew the truth now. They were the children of a forgotten empire, and their future would never again be ruled by alien chains. Leviathan sailed forward, leading the fleet. Its shadow stretched across Earth, across Luna, across the hearts of all who watched. Humanity had revealed its strength, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The silence was over. The revelation had come, and the galaxy would never forget the day humanity awoke its ancient warships.